9:13 in the morning. It's Indiana in the morning, and it's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. It has been a really, really interesting weather picture, but it's also been interesting if you happen to be out there driving around in all of this weather. That's one of the ways that we can be thinking about vehicle safety. Driving safety, but there are many of them, and that's exemplified by the fact that Tina Gibbs from PennDOT is with us this morning, and also here Amy Shellhammer from IUP's Rural Health and Safety Community Traffic Safety Project. She's the coordinator of that, and Cathy Tress from the PA DUI Association. She's the regional DUI program administrator, and we're talking about vehicle safety. And driving safety and all of those safety issues. Our visit presented by Marcus & Mack, voted best law firm and best personal injury lawyer 3 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit them online at marcusandmack.com. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks
Thanks for having us.
It's our pleasure to have you here today. Tina, I wasn't kidding around. I mean, the weather yesterday and all of that rain, and that's where I think a good place to start is don't go driving through standing pools of water.
Well, that is a good starting point these days. I think we're on, our fourth month of rain nearly every day, I think.
72% of the days in 2025 in Western PA have had either rain or snow.
Yeah, it's been a rough spring. It was a rough winter. Luckily, we made it through winter, and we've moved on a little bit. Hopefully, weather's going to turn the corner here in the next week or so. But yes, obviously with standing water and things like that, we obviously encourage folks to drive safe, use some common sense, don't drive through standing water, definitely never try to drive through moving water. And, if you need to, just turn around, go another way, go park somewhere until it's safe to proceed. But just use caution. There's no place that it's that important to get to that you end up risking yourself and emergency responders by trying to drive through standing water.
Yeah, and that's one of the concerns that we have in the summertime, but there are plenty of other concerns. More drivers, young drivers, drivers who might be a little bit too celebratory. All of these things are concerns in the summertime.
Certainly. With 4th of July holiday coming up, we have some information about, impaired driving. So Cathy, if you'd like to kind of take the mic.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thanks for having me. The 4th of July is usually filled with community activities, family gatherings, and celebrations that often involve alcoholic beverages. Well, it's 2025, and it's well known that drunk driving is illegal and carries unacceptable consequences. But most highway safety advocates, including our Pennsylvania law enforcement, use the words impaired driving rather than drunk driving, simply because any substance, regardless if it's an alcoholic beverage or drugs, prescription, over-the-counter, or illegal, if the driver is impaired by any of these substances, they're incapable of safe driving and put everyone at risk. It even doesn't matter even if you have a prescription. Driving a motor vehicle, riding a motorcycle, or boating impaired in Pennsylvania is illegal and has consequences. Many substances impair a person's ability to operate and react quickly for driving. Alcohol, marijuana, and other drugs slow coordination, judgment, and reaction times. Stimulants can make a person more aggressive and reckless. Often alcohol and other drugs are combined, which can amplify the effects in a person. Some prescription and over-the-counter drugs cause extreme drowsiness, affect judgment, and make a person dizzy. There are misconceptions about marijuana use. Regardless if it's illegal or illegally obtained, some people think or have heard it actually makes you a safer driver, but there are studies that show this is false. According to NHTSA, a 2015 study shows that it can hurt a person's ability to multitask, which is a critical skill needed in driving. Regardless of your opinion about marijuana legalization or if you use it therapeutically, it's no different than impairment caused by alcoholic beverages. The 4th of July holiday celebrates our nation's freedom, and all licensed drivers should be free to travel on a road without fear of harm caused by an impaired driver. Driving is a privilege. Don't take that privilege for granted or away from other drivers and passengers sharing the same roads.
Yeah. Kathy, one of the big things about this year's 4th of July is it's on a Friday.
Yes.
And we'll have Cliff Greenfield in here, I'm sure, from the state police before we get to that holiday. But that being the case, there will be even more people and therefore more risk who might make the wrong decisions.
Oh, absolutely. Not to mention the fact, as we talked about the weather a few minutes ago, if the weather's a nice weekend, people have been quarantined because of all this rain, and they're really going to be itching to go outside and to partake in celebrations. And they just need to make their, arrangements in advance to be safe. It's all about saving lives is what it's about. And law enforcement in Pennsylvania will be out, obviously, throughout the holiday weekend. And actually enforcement began on June 16th and will continue through July 5th, which is considered the 4th of July period for enforcement activities. And they're going to be out there looking for signs of impaired drivers. In addition to the regular police officers, Pennsylvania has specially trained law enforcement called drug recognition experts. And they assist other law enforcement by conducting evaluations on suspected drug-impaired drivers. Currently, Pennsylvania has almost 230 law enforcement that are certified DREs across the state. And DRE evaluations also help identify potential medical problems, such as head injuries, stroke, or diabetic episodes that mimic the signs of an impaired driver. Mm-hmm. And they help drivers get medical attention needed when needed. The top drug categories in 2024 for impaired in Pennsylvania in drug categories was cannabis, narcotic analgesics, and stimulants. And examples of narcotic analgesics are oxycodone, fentanyl, and methadone. There were more than 33,000 drug evaluations conducted in the United States, in Pennsylvania, and we are in our 20th year of this program since 2004. Nationally, more than 40% of the DRE evaluations conducted showed impaired drivers having polydrug categories, which some medications may not impair you on their own, but when they're combined with other drugs, including alcohol, cause impairment. People need to be aware of that. And if they need to read their prescription warning labels, don't consume alcohol while taking a drug. They need to not ignore that. Yeah. They also need to make sure that they talk to their doctor, and especially if it says don't drive or consume alcohol. The DREs are part of the Drug Evaluation and Classification Program run by the International Association of Chiefs of Police, and they span not only the U.S., but also it's a worldwide program. And mainly we want our folks to be safe out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Amy Shellhammer, that's a good time to bring you into this conversation this morning, because as we think about, we've talked about road conditions, we've talked about impaired driving. Distracted driving is another thing. Pennsylvania has a brand new law that is we're hoping to help. Law. Yeah. That's another measure that we're taking to try to get unsafe driving practices out of the system, out of our blood system.
Right. Tina's actually going to talk a little bit about Paul Miller's law. I just want to stress some important points that Cathy was making as well. Is if you are going to go out and partake and have a good time and celebrate the holiday, which we hope everybody does, we just want to make sure that people have a plan in place for a safe way to get home. There's lots of options nowadays for a safe way home. There's rideshare. There's public transportation, things like Uber, things like Lyft. If you need to stay the night at a friend's house, call a sober friend, call a sober relative to get you home. I don't think that anybody should feel that they have to be on the road, because there are so many options. We always encourage people to have a designated driver before you even go out, before you even take one sip or whatever. Have a designated driver, somebody who remains sober and is going to be responsible. That's basically the definition of a designated driver. Somebody who remains sober is the responsible driver, and they promise that they're not going to be consuming anything for driving.
Yeah, and you make a great point that those are things you can plan for.
Right.
Those are things to do ahead of time.
Right, and you should do it ahead of time, because once you do start partaking, then your judgment is impaired, and that can, affect your mental capabilities to make good decisions. So, please, if you are going to celebrate, have a plan set in place on how you're going to get home prior.
I think if people really considered the number of people whose lives could be affected or ended by their behavior, they might rethink the way that they're doing things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so,
Tina?
Yes. So you mentioned the Paul Miller Law, which is something that is new. It went into place June 5th. Essentially what it is a hands-free law that you are now required, if you're using any kind of a device in your car, it has to be the hands-free mode, so through your vehicle. If you are caught with your cell phone while you're driving, and that also includes sitting at a stoplight or sitting in a construction zone. Essentially, if you are not in a parking lot, if you are not pulled off a road, things like that, all of that is considered to be using your phone while driving. So for the first 12 months, it's more of a notification, light enforcement. You will be given a warning if you're pulled over and it's determined you were on your phone. Effective in June of 2026, fines will start to be imposed, court fees. It's a summary offense. If there is a fatality involved, you can actually be sentenced to an additional 5 years in prison because of cell phone usage. So it's not something that's being taken lightly. And, the thing is, I think we're all so programmed now that we live with our cell phones 24/7.
Sure.
So you think, it's going to be 3 seconds for me to just text my husband that I'm going to stop and get milk on the way home. But that's 3 seconds that your eyes aren't on the road. You don't know what's happening around you. You're not actively participating as the driver of the vehicle. So while it seems minimal and it seems like there's no harm there, crashes happen every day because of a distracted driver on a cell phone.
Yeah.
So it's just something to be aware of. If you're so programmed that that's literally part of the fiber of your being at this point, leave your phone in your purse, put it in your glove box, set it to do not disturb or silent mode, and deal with that stuff once you get to the location you're going to.
Yeah.
If you think you're going to get a very important text message while you're driving and it does come through, take an exit, go to a rest area, pull off safely at a location where you can, check your text messages then. If you have a passenger, as silly as it may sound, designate them as your texter. Let them be the one who reads it to you, who texts back answers, but do not be on your phone while you're driving.
Yeah.
So, that's just one more added thing. We all know there's distractions. If you have kids in a back seat, if you have other people in a car, music, changing stations, different things like that are all distractions. But the more we can do to limit something that is this much under your own control, the better off and the safer every driver is out on the roads.
Yeah. And Max the dog should not be sitting on your lap.
No, Max the dog, you should have safely in the seat beside you or behind you. Yes.
All right. All of those things, they make common sense, but, people, they ease up, and they really shouldn't.
Sure. And, it's one of those things where there are so many people on the roads these days, whether you're a new driver, a senior driver, or somewhere in between that mix. And it's truly up to each one of us to keep each other safe while we're out there. Yeah. My decisions while I'm driving can affect you. It can affect, the car beside me in the passing lane. It can affect the passengers in my vehicle. And beyond that, it can affect the multitude of people who may be tied to the person who might be injured, could be fatalities, things like that. So it's not a bubble. We're not in a bubble when we're out on the roads. It's a team effort. We all need to do our part so that we all get to where we need to get safely.
Absolutely. Hey, ladies, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks, Todd.
And we hope that folks will have a really safe summer on the roadways.
Yes.
Appreciate it. It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. And Boomer Sports next, brought to you by S&T Bank. People Forward Banking.